All right, let's just get right into it. We're living in this golden age of fantasy on screen, right? We've got monsters, multiverses, you name it. But you know what's one of the most unbelievable things you'll see in a movie today? The women. It's strange but true. Hollywood has been trying so hard for the last decade to give us these empowering female heroes, but more often than not, they just feel fake. So today, we're going to dig into this weird problem and figure out why so many of these strong female characters just don't work. And this question right here, it gets to the very heart of the issue. I mean, think about it. We have absolutely no problem believing a scientist can get blasted with gamma rays and turn into a giant green rage monster. We're all in. But the moment one of these modern, strong female leads walks on screen, a huge chunk of the audience, and I mean especially women, just kind of checks out. There's no connection. So what's going on? Why is this happening? You know, when people, and again, particularly women, raise their hands and say, hey, I don't really like this character, this is the line they almost always get hit with. It's this sort of dismissal, like, hey, what are you complaining about? This is what you asked for. You should just be grateful. But that completely, totally misses the point. The frustration isn't about hate, it's about disappointment, because they know it could be so much better. Okay, so let's be crystal clear about this. The problem isn't that these characters are strong. The problem is that they are badly written. Sometimes so badly written, it actually feels kind of insulting. This backlash you see online, it's not anti-woman, it's not anti-strength. It is a reaction to a very specific, very lazy, and very flawed template that Hollywood just keeps using over and over and over. And that template, it has a name. So where did this broken template even come from? Well, if you really want to understand the problem, you have to understand one term, girl boss. To figure out why these characters fail so hard, we've got to look at where this idea came from and how it got twisted from something meant to be empowering into a cheap, creative checklist.
See, the term girl boss didn't start out as a bad thing. Back in the early 2010s, it was a genuinely cool movement about celebrating women's ambition in business, about women lifting each other up. But then, the big brands caught on, and they turned girl power into a product you could buy. You know, feminist slogans on coffee mugs, t-shirts saying the future is female, all while maybe not changing anything about how they actually operate. And once Hollywood saw how popular this empty marketing was, well, they wanted a piece of the action.
And that brings us to the Hollywood girl boss. She's not really a character so much as she is a checklist of traits. Okay, she's got to be tough. Check. She's got to be super confident. Check. Oh, and she absolutely has to hate girly things, to show she's not like other girls. She's never going to order a Cosmo. She drinks whiskey. Neat. And the most important rule, the story has to bend over backwards to prove she is from minute one the smartest, strongest, most capable person in any room she enters. Now, on paper, that might sound awesome, right? A perfect, capable hero. But here's the thing. Audiences, and again, women in particular, tend to hate these characters. And the reason is actually pretty simple. They aren't written to be human. Let's look at a couple of big examples to see exactly how this girl boss checklist creates characters that are just impossible to root for. So you end up with two types of boring. Writers get so scared of making a female hero even a little bit unlikable, they run in one of two directions. On the one hand, you get Wonder Woman. She's strong, she's confident, and she's deadly serious all the time. While all the guys are cracking jokes, she's just kind of standing there rolling her eyes. They basically gave her the personality of a soggy cardboard box. Then on the other side, you have Captain Marvel. They did give her a personality, but it's just one note. She's super sarcastic and seems to hate pretty much everyone. Different methods, but you get the same results. A character you just don't care about. And this is the real kicker. These characters have no flaws. They're never awkward. They don't really have a journey of growth because they start out perfect. Captain Marvel is introduced as arguably the most powerful hero in the entire universe with no real weaknesses. When a character doesn't have to struggle, the audience has no reason to get invested. We can see how fake it is. It's why that girl power scene in Avengers Endgame, where all the women heroes just magically appear in the same spot at the same time, felt so forced. It didn't feel like an organic moment. It felt like a corporate poster. And sometimes the writing tips over from just being lazy into being genuinely offensive. Take She-Hulk. Okay, so the original Hulk went through a 15-year traumatic, brutal journey to get a handle on his powers. It nearly destroyed him. Then his cousin shows up, gets the same powers, and is instantly better at it than he is. And to explain why, she actually says this line to his face. It just casually dismisses his entire life's struggle with a cheap, nonsensical line. That's not empowering. That's just terrible storytelling. And maybe the most infamous example of this is Rey from the Star Wars sequels. Literally the same days she finds out the Force is real, she's suddenly powerful enough to go toe-to-toe with Kylo Ren, a guy who has been training his whole life. She basically never loses a fight, she never really struggles, she never truly needs help. It's like picking up a guitar for the very first time and then playing a sold-out stadium show that same night. It makes no sense. The criticism isn't about her being a woman, it's about her being written like an invincible god from the start, which is just plain boring.
Okay, so if being perfect is the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's actually really simple. A character's true strength doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from their humanity, from their flaws, and from watching them struggle and overcome.
The two Mulan movies are the perfect case study for this. The original animated Mulan from 1998 was so beloved because she was ordinary. She was clumsy, she wasn't sure of herself. She became a hero through pure grit and determination. The message was amazing. Anyone can be strong if they work for it. But the 2020 live-action version just tossed that idea in the trash. This Mulan is basically a born superhero with magical chi powers. By making her special from the start, they stole her journey and completely destroyed the original truly empowering message. Now let's think about a character audiences absolutely loved. Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games. Why did she connect with so many people? Because she felt real. She was just a normal girl thrown into this horrific situation. She was stubborn, she could be cold, she made huge mistakes. She got hurt, she failed to save people she cared about. She broke down, she survived by the absolute skin of her teeth. We didn't love her because she was perfect. We loved her because we watched her go through hell and her victory felt earned. Her flaws are exactly what made her strong. So the takeaway here is pretty obvious. Real strength in storytelling comes from letting characters be complex and vulnerable and, human. But this girl boss trope has a couple of other huge failings we really need to talk about. This one is a big one. So many of these stories seem to believe that the only way to make a woman look strong is by making every man around her look like an idiot. They're either incompetent, or they're evil, or they're useless. But that's not what feminism is. Feminism is about equality, the desire to be equal to men, not superior, not to dominate them, to be equals. These writers confuse feminism with just hating men, and it's incredibly lazy writing.
For a much better way to do it, just look at Hermione Granger. She's the perfect example of what audiences actually want. She is ridiculously smart, right? But her being smart doesn't make Harry and Ron stupid. They have their own unique strengths. The truth is, they all need each other. Harry might be the chosen one, but without Hermione, he would have died in the first book. And that fact never takes away from his accomplishments. She doesn't have to tear them down to prove she's brilliant. The goal isn't dominance, it's partnership.
And here's the other bizarre part of this trope. It's not enough to put down men. The girl boss often puts down other women too. She has this terminal case of I'm not like other girls syndrome. In these movies, anything that's seen as traditionally feminine, romance, kindness, softness, liking the color pink, is treated like it's a weakness. The writers seem to think the only path to strength for a woman is to act like a stereotypical man. It's just treating one box for another. So what is it that audiences actually want? It is not a huge mystery. People want to see characters who mess up and have to learn from their mistakes. We want characters who feel pain, who cry, and then find the will to get back on their feet. We want complex characters with flaws, who can be a fierce warrior one minute and a loving friend or partner or sister the next. In short, what we want are characters who are allowed to be human. Ultimately, this whole thing boils down to something really simple. Hollywood needs to stop trying to write a strong female character. Instead, they should just focus on writing a great character who happens to be female. Let her be messy, let her fail, let her be vulnerable, let her be human. If you can do that, the strong part will take care of itself, and then you'll finally have a hero that everyone can believe in.